episode number 23. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm excited about today's episode because I interview Caroline Flanagan about having it all. She is an ex-lawyer and fellow coach who is dedicated to helping women to figure out how to have fulfilling lives while still having their career. So as you can tell, we both share similar passions. I'm so excited to chat with her because she shares so much useful insight in this episode. We talk about a range of things, including her unexpected pregnancy and the impact that had on her career, how having courage to make it work is really important, her book Babyproof Your Career, and her experience with being a mother of 4 boys and how she juggles motherhood with her professional career. So there's lots for us to dive into, so without further ado, let's jump in. Welcome to the show, Caroline. It is so awesome to have you on. I'm super excited. Could you please introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Janine. Thanks for having me. I'm really thrilled and honoured to be your guest on today's show. My name, as you said, is Caroline Flanagan, and I like to think, affectionately known as the Babyproof coach. So I am the founder of Babyproof Your Life, which is a sort of niche coaching business that at its heart is all about increasing diversity at the top, getting more women to carry on working when they have had kids. So not giving up their long-term career ambitions, but somehow fulfilling those and at the same time having a rewarding family life too.
Awesome. So our passions are very much aligned, which
Yes.
is great. And it would be good to hear from you kind of how you got to that place. So I know that you started off working as a lawyer in the city, and a lot of our audience, our listeners are lawyers. So it would be good to hear about your kind of journey from there and your transition into coaching and building your business in this area.
Yeah, of course. So I'm an ex-city lawyer, so we have a shared profession there. I worked in the City of London, that is, for just under 9 years, Janine. They were primarily at the UK law firm Allen and Overy, but then I moved to a US law firm, Cleary Gottlieb. And all through that time, I was really sort of quite ambitious, like most lawyers I know. Very much wanted to rise to the top, be a partner. But the whole time, or most of the time, in my head, I knew I also wanted to have a fulfilling personal life and family life. And the kind of hours that I worked in international finance. So that was, I mean, to say it was all consuming is maybe even a bit of an understatement. But those sort of long hours and how demanding that role was meant that I kind of could not see a way that would work when I had a family. But I didn't really know kind of what to do about it, Janine. And what I found was, even like when we were going for a coffee with my female colleagues, or we were just hanging out, we all kind of felt the same, like, oh, we want to have kids one day, but God, how on earth is this going to work? We can't really see. And I think what we all collectively did, because we didn't know any different, was to sort of bury our heads in the sand and kind of just ignore the issue and decide we'd sort of cross that bridge when we came to it and hope, basically cross our fingers that it would all work out. And of course, then life being what it is, I like to sort of quote the John Lennon quote, which says, "Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans." Because there I was, kind of forging ahead with my career, and then I found myself unexpectedly pregnant.
Right.
And this was it was like 6 weeks into my brand new role, 6-figure salary at top US law firm Cleary Gottlieb, and it was such a shock to the system. Obviously, the idea and the realization of the effect that would have on my career was at first, really devastating, because I just thought, oh, how am I going to do this? Fast forward a few years, I basically, I had my first son, Dylan. I then had my second son. And I really, after sort of trying for almost 2 years to make my career work and my family work, I just I like to say I just had to save myself. I was so overwhelmed and exhausted and guilty all the time, had no confidence. This is stuff I'm sure you've heard before and maybe even experienced a bit of it yourself.
Yeah.
I just ended up saying I can't do this. And then in terms of answering the question of how I got to baby proofing, what I realized is that there are a number of sort of key mistakes that I'd made in that run up to the years before I became pregnant. I realized that I hadn't properly thought about what I could be doing kind of both personally and in my career to kind of help make that transition easier.
Yeah.
And that's how kind of Babyproof Your Life, Babyproof Your Career was born, was really wanting to be that answer, if you like, to the question that I know young ambitious women are asking themselves about how on earth they're going to make a really kind of high flying career like being a lawyer work with having a family. So Babyproof is the answer to that.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It is easy to kind of just park the question. Like you think about it, and then you're like, "Oh, I don't know how this is going to work. I'll just carry on," and then find yourself in a
Did you
situation.
do that? Did you
Yeah,
do that, Janine?
yeah, yeah. I very much did. So I was working as a corporate lawyer. So for me, it was kind of similar in terms of the hours and like the commitment. And I was looking around and looking at fellow associates, female associates or partners who had kids, and just seeing whether I could see people making it work, and I couldn't see that many people around me making it work in the way that I would want to make work. And I think when you don't have any role models, it's really
Yeah.
difficult to see like, okay, how can this happen? But in hindsight now, looking back, I think that it is possible. Like you said, it's about being intentional and preparing yourself and not burying your head in the sand and figuring out, well, what is the plan going to be? And even if you haven't thought about it before, when you're going back, after you go back, like what could I be putting in place instead of being passive about it and then just
Yes.
waiting for other people to decide what your options are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, yeah, I found that it does take a lot of courage, I guess, to just like face it and say, well, I need to figure out how this is going to work. I don't want to walk away from my career, so how else can I make it work?
That's right. And I think you've hit the nail on the head about kind of it taking courage and, being intentional about it. And what I found is that although that is quite, it certainly seems quite daunting and quite hard, but we're talking about, people like yourself and so many people I've worked with over the years in in the corporate world. When it comes to our professional lives, we actually are quite good at being intentional and
Yeah,
deliberate and strategic and brave, because that's kind of how we get to, how we got there in the first place. It's just interesting how when it comes to our personal lives, we suddenly, I don't know, become a lot less courageous, a lot more fearful. So what I'm really trying to do is not so much encourage women to be something they're not. It's actually just reminding them of how powerful they are and how they've demonstrated that power already
yeah.
professionally, but to really channel that power and that energy also into their personal lives so they're getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. And you wrote a book about baby proofing your career, which I read, and I was like, this is amazing. There's so many really great tips in there, things that I like now it's on my reading list for clients to suggest that
Oh, thank you
they
so
should
much.
definitely check it out. And yeah, a lot of the things in there that you read, you're kind of like, well, yeah, that makes sense, but it wouldn't necessarily occur to everybody. Are there any kind of key take homes that you would like share with the audience that you would say these are like some things that you could think about
Mm.
if they haven't read the
So
book?
yeah, if I haven't read a book. So I'd say just I would just focus on one really because I'd sort of want you to remember one thing, and that's that what the book is really about is about how you approach the challenge of being, or whether it's kind of happening for you now, you're already a parent, working parent, or whether it's something you hope to be doing in the near future. The whole ethos behind Babyproof as a concept and also behind the book is that you say, yes, I know it's going to be hard. We all know it's going to be hard. Because as you say, there aren't so many role models. We know not everybody's doing it the way we would want to or successfully. But just because it's hard doesn't mean that I'm powerless to prepare myself with the right skills and strategies to cope with how hard it is and to meet the challenges that are coming up. So it's really about, I talk about empowerment and I talk about ownership. And the book is really a message to all the women out there who would love to have it all, to say, you know what, with a bit of preparation, a bit of planning and practicing certain sort of really, some of the skills are really obvious, like getting your house in order and just being really super organized. But other things, like when it comes to role models, just because you can't find any in your organization doesn't mean that there aren't others out there. It just requires maybe looking a bit further and wider afield. And then another issue would be sort of on the networking front. To when you're, we all kind of are aware that building a network is really positive for your career and it's very important. But to build a network also with a view to what support you might need later on or further down the line, whether it's people who can stand in your corner and say how brilliant you are and how, to be your champion in the corner, but also people who are going to support you when things get tough and you feel like, oh, it's getting really, really hard. People who are going to really be there to sort of to egg you on and keep you going. So I've covered quite a few things there, but the key thing is the mindset of, this is a challenge, but like, some of the most rewarding challenges out there, like running a marathon, for example, the work, you do the preparation, you get the support, and actually it can just be the most rewarding thing you ever do.
Yeah, which is awesome. I love the fact that you're just championing the fact that you can have it all, because so many people will say as a woman you can't have it all, you have to make a choice, it's either your career or it's either family life, and I love to say no to that. Like, it is possible to have it all, you just got to work out how we're going to fit this all together, how's it all going to integrate, instead of feeling like it has to be a choice between one or the other.
Oh, happy days. I'm so happy to hear you say that, Janine. Just like you, there's so much out there that just sends this message to us that you can't have it all. You've got to compromise. This is not possible. And that's such a negative messaging. And what, two things that I get really, really, really animated about this. I'm really passionate about it because there are two issues that always spring to mind. One is that everybody's scenario is different. There is no kind of one solution that's going to work for everybody. So it's not really for another person to tell you that you can't have it all. You can't have your version of the successful career and the fulfilled family life. The only person who can be in control of that is you. And so no one else can tell you that. And the second thing is, and I write about this a bit in the book, is how disempowering that is. So if we all go around telling ourselves we can't possibly have it all, then suddenly we then sort of set our expectations for life really low. I don't want to set my expectations for life really low. I don't want to say, oh, well, I hope I'll live a life that's kind of okay and fine. And, I get some of the things I like. I want to, go for it and have a really full and rewarding life. And that means believing, that maybe I can just go for it and build the kind of life I want. And then suddenly I'm finding the energy to do that. I'm much more creative about finding solutions to problems. And I'm much likely to notice the sort of positive messages and other people out there who are doing something similar, like yourself.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about coaching, because I find that when you can help people to open up their mind to the possibility, that's like the start of it. Like when you challenge the thought that no, it's not possible, and you help them to realize yes, it is, and then from there it just opens up. Like the options are so much greater when you see it as possible, as opposed to no, I could never do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I know that you have 4 boys. You're mum to 4. So tell us a bit about that, like motherhood for you, and kind of motherhood and managing your professional life and how that looks on a day-to-day. It'd be really interesting to hear about that.
Yeah, sure. So yes, I'm the proud mother of 4 fantastic boys. I call them my fantastic 4. I certainly didn't set out with a big master plan to have 4 children. I think it was just fate, and it's just wonderful thing. How it works is, I'm speaking to you from home at the moment. The 2 younger ones should be in bed, and the 2 older ones are floating around somewhere. It is unusually quiet for this time in the evening.
What's happening?
Because they've been given strict instructions. So hopefully that will remain the case. How it works is there are, I guess I work full time. So that's a really important thing for people to know, is I am running my business full time. It is pretty much just me. And that does mean I'm working pretty long hours. But the advantage is I can be flexible. So I can work out I look at the school calendar at the beginning of term, and I pick usually one thing for each kid that I can go to, and I discuss that with them about what's the most important thing, and build my diary around it, so that at least at some level I know I've sat down with my kids, agreed the things that I can attend. The times when I will make them a priority. So, and what I love about that is they are completely understanding and accepting and supportive of the fact that I'm working. And there've been times where I've said, I'm really sorry, I feel really bad that I can't do this. And, my oldest will be saying, for goodness sake, Mum, we know you love us, and we know you can't come to everything. And we've already agreed you'll come to this. So it's fine. Stop beating yourself up. So if anything, they're the ones that are telling me not to feel guilty. And that definitely comes as a result of talking to them about my work and seeing that they're also proud of me working. So that relationship I have with them is really, really powerful. And that respect, it means they afford me a certain amount of respect. That doesn't mean that they always have to come first in every single minute of my day. So that's the sort of practical guilt side of it. And then in terms of the logistical side of it, a lot of planning, a lot of organising, a lot of delegating. I have someone who comes in and helps me a top and tail the day, so they'll help me at school drop-off time and at school pick-up time, because we have to do sort of 3 different stops quite a lot of the time. So, and my husband's always out really, really early in the morning and back often quite late. So I have an extra pair of hands to help me with the drop-offs. And then because the young ones obviously finish really early, 3:00, it's awful. It's the end of the school day at like 3. And you're like, this is halfway through my day. I've still got so much to do. So it's really great to have someone who comes and helps me then and picks the younger ones up. That's really critical. And that's usually 4 out of the 5 days a week. And then I try to, we're both sort of flexible. So I'm usually around picking someone up at some point. And that's great. And then the rest of it is we just have fun. I say no to perfection. That is my key solution. My key skill is I don't expect perfection from myself. I don't expect perfection from my kids. I expect us all to really try hard and to be respectful of each other. But when I mess up, which I do sometimes, I forget things, or something's happening at school and I've completely forgotten about it, or even being late picking someone up, I feel bad about it initially, but then I'm really clear about my strategy for dealing with sort of what would otherwise be sort of, mother guilt. And I'm very clear about saying, right, what did I learn? So what am I going to do differently next time? And then I forgive myself and I get on with it. None of it's ever so bad that I can't forgive myself and learn the lesson. So that's taken, it has taken me a few years to kind of get to that quite a confident position. But that learning is something that I pass on to my clients, is in helping them to understand that and approach things like guilt in a different way.
Yeah, because it's so easy to get caught up in that whole guilt cycle when you're a parent. It never feels like you're doing enough, and then the same if you're juggling work as well, then you're not doing enough there. So it's giving yourself grace and realising that you can't be doing everything and be everywhere. So accepting that. And then just being like, okay, like you said, learning from the mistakes and the things that you could do better. I think it's really important to take that approach instead of always feeling like, oh, I'm doing a terrible job. Because a lot of the time the kids probably don't notice half the things that we beat ourselves up about. They're not that bothered about.
Exactly. And they also will take a lot of their understanding of how well we're doing, if you like, from us. Even subconsciously. And I think it's, managing expectations is a big thing from me about what my role is as their mum, and I am, unconditional love, all the right sort of stuff. But their expectation is not, to be the best mum in the world for them doesn't mean I have to say yes to everything they want, right? And most mothers would agree to that when it comes to, I don't know, toys in a shop or sweets. But for example, if it's something that's going on at school every single day, if we say no to one of those things, we beat ourselves up about it. But it's the same as saying no to other stuff. It's actually, we can still be brilliant parents and say no to our children. And I think when the no happens because we have to be at work, or it's a soft no because we're like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make that because this is what's going on, then, it's up to us to help our children understand what that no means. It doesn't mean I love you less, or I'm less, I'm less of a good mum to you. It just means that on this occasion, I need to choose to work. But that doesn't mean that, on the next occasion, it's not going to be you that I.
Yeah. And you said previously when we had a chat about being able to say no and how important that is. So not only in the context of speaking to your kids, but in the context of everything, as a good piece of advice to give to people. Can you talk a bit more about that? Because I definitely think it's a 2-letter word that people do not use enough.
I agree.
My toddler's got it down. Like he's just, no, no, mummy, no, no. But it's like, I don't know at which point that we just stop saying it and we just feel like we can't say it, and we do things just because we want to make other people happy.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
I know you have thoughts on that, so it'd be good for you to share with the audience why they need to say no more.
Yeah, I have really, strong thoughts about that and the need to say no. I mean, the first and most compelling argument is if you say yes to everything, you will be ruined and exhausted and overwhelmed and will never see the light of day. I mean, just think of the sheer volume of whether it's email traffic, whether it's news information, whether it's social media. Think about the sheer volume of stuff that's out there trying to command your attention. It's bigger than we are. Add to that our sort of personal relationships, extending both from the kind of people closest to us who we really, really love, we want to put first, but also to every single person we know who might just ask us the smallest favor. That is more overwhelming than, I mean, even take kids out of the equation, that's too much for us to cope with. So no's need to happen in order for us to function properly. And I think while we all sort of accept that no's need to happen, we don't accept that no's need to happen a lot more often than they currently do. We don't have time to go into the kind of psychology behind that and why women tend to be so much more eager to please, but we tend to be like that. We're very relationship focused. We don't want to let people down. And there's a self-consciousness too about not wanting to appear selfish and wanting to always be helpful. So that means that people find it quite hard to say no. And when I work with clients, they kind of cringe and find it really difficult at first. So my strategy, and I'm not sure if I shared this with you, was that the rule is you should say no to everything, but then choose from that what your exceptions are.
Right.
And I basically do that with my clients initially. And we do it for a short period of time because I want them to experience the discomfort of saying no at first because it goes to their nature. But then when and it does two things. One is it then suddenly frees up so much more time. Even if it's uncomfortable, it does free up a lot of that, what I call the optional time, the time that's not when you absolutely have to be in the office or you absolutely have to be doing X, Y, and Z. It frees up time and you start to see the potential for space, I guess, in your day and in your diary. But the other thing is it then gets you really evaluating every request that comes your way. So you're very much saying, okay, well, the answer's got to be no. And then you think, okay, well, do I make an exception for this? And the key is to have very clear reasons for why you would make an exception to saying yes.
Right.
To saying no to something. Is that making sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. It helps to, like you said, to start from that different viewpoint, because normally people say yes to everything and then every now and then they say no, but then to start thinking, actually this needs to go through a different filter and I need to say no first because clearly I'm already busy. Definitely a powerful way to approach it.
Yeah, it's powerful because you need, and sometimes you'll know this in coaching, just to get that kind of massive mindset shift, you kind of have to throw people in at the deep end so they can just experience a different feeling. And then when they realize that actually they can swim, it's the same technique to swim in the deep end as it is to swim in the shallow end, right? But you want them to just get over that fear, and there's massive growth that happens when you do that. But no, I do like that. I do think it's really important, and most critically because there's a lot of requests that come our way, whether it's for help, they're genuine requests, but what they're actually doing is putting other people's agenda and other people's values and priorities ahead of ours. So we need to reacquire the habit of asking ourselves, well, what's the value for me here too? It's about putting yourself at least equal, if not first. Which is even better.
And the thing is, each of the individual people that are coming to you with a request, they don't know about the other things that are going on in your life. Only you do. So it might seem like a fair enough request, but if you've got 10 others, then it
Yeah,
really isn't. But it's only you who can say, well, actually, no, I've got all of these other things on and I can't do everything. So you have to take control
yeah,
and be able to say no. So I definitely think that's a
yeah.
good tips. So yeah, I know that you have a podcast coming up, and I absolutely have fallen in love with podcasting since becoming a podcast host and being able to speak to so many amazing people. So do you want to talk a bit about your podcast, what it's going to be about, and what people can expect from it? Because I'm really excited for you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Janine. So it's still in the preparation phase, as you know, but I really appreciate being able to, well, being a guest on your wonderful podcast and seeing how you're doing it and how you're hosting it so brilliantly. And also just excited because, like you, I absolutely love podcasts. I love the idea, just the fact of being able to listen and learn while I'm on the go, and it's just so brilliant for a busy lifestyle.
Mm.
So all of this kind of led me to think, who is my sort of target market for Babyproof Your Career? Who am I most trying to help? And actually, they are the busy women with the corporate who are really time poor. So what better way to reach them actually than to be available for them to have in their ear on the train commute home or what have you. So that's the kind of drive behind it. And then what I'm going to cover on the podcast really is everything to do with baby-proofing your career.
Mm-hmm.
And that extends both to women who don't have children yet but know they want to have children in the future, but also to a lot of my current sort of audience who read my blog and who are in my network and follow my email. They a number of them are already parents like yourself and looking for advice and strategies to just cope with day to day and to keep managing it really well.
Yeah.
So that's who it's for, and I'm going to be covering all the sort of mindset issues I talked about, the specific tips and strategies that I sort of teach in the Babyproof Your Career course. But also I'm going to be interviewing two different types of people. First of all, sort of experts on particular topics. So where I talk about, for example, raising your profile in the office and being more visible, I'll bring in an expert who can talk about, personal branding and image and your self-confidence. When I talk about being organized and what that looks like, I'll bring in an organizational expert. So there'll be some interesting expert interviews. But then crucially, I'm kind of on a mission to find all of those women out there like you, Janine, who do believe in the dream of having it all and who are making it work and coming up with their own, we talked about those sort of unique solutions and the unique version of having it all, how we're all different, we all have different circumstances. So really, I want the podcast to be a platform, an opportunity for women like that to be, to sort of their stories to be told in a way that can be really inspiring for those who are looking for answers and solutions and looking for those role models but aren't able to find them.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So I'm really excited. So as soon as you launch it, I will, and you can send me the link and I will make sure that it goes in the show notes to this and get shared with others as well, because I think it's awesome for people to have more options in terms of what to listen to, because like you said, podcasts are so powerful. So if people want to learn more about you and Babyproof Your Life, where's the best place for them to either check you out or connect with you?
Yep. Okay. So I am very active on LinkedIn. They can just search my name, Caroline Flanagan, on LinkedIn. I'm known, as I said at the beginning, as Babyproof Coach. So that's a social media handle you can use to find me on all of the platforms. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, I'm on and off, and Twitter. So Babyproof Coach is the key. And then online, of course, on my website, it's babyproofyourlife.com. And I've also got my own sort of personal branded website, which is carolineflanagan.com. So lots of places for you to find me. If you search Babyproof, I will come up hopefully in lots of different areas.
Good. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much, Janine. And I love what you're doing. And I think, that we need more of this, what we're both doing to support all the women out there who are really sort of ambitious and want, looking for solutions to this. And I think you're doing an amazing job. So thanks.
Thank you. It was so great speaking to Caroline and hearing her tips on juggling work and family life. It is true that it's a challenge, but with the right attitude and approach and some systems in place, it is totally doable. If you want to learn more about Caroline, then you can head over to lightboxcoaching.com/episode 23, so you can have a look at the show notes, and I will be linking to her book and to her upcoming online course and to her website, so you can connect with her over there. And if you are generally looking for some support around juggling work and family life, then do sign up for my free resource library at lightboxcoaching.com/resource library for some guides and some checklists and some training that you can have a look at and dive into, which will support you on your journey. I recently added a stress management checklist, which you may find useful. So head over to lightboxcoaching.com/resource library so you can access what's already there and also be notified when new resources are added. I just wanted to share with you information about an upcoming event. On the 25th of September 2017, the Mums Enterprise Roadshow is taking place in London. I will be exhibiting at the event, which is geared to women who are on maternity leave who are trying to figure out their career direction after maternity leave. So whether that means returning to work or starting their own business or changing and shifting career focus. There will be a range of exhibitors, stands, workshops, talks, and networking opportunities to help people make a decision around the direction of their. The event is free for attendees, so if you're interested, head over to lightboxcoaching.com/events to find out more, and hopefully I can connect with you and meet you at the event. Okay, that's all from me today. I look forward to connecting with you in the next episode. Now, if you like the show and you're enjoying these episodes, please do head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review so that more women just like you can find the show and join in the conversation. That's all for today. So until next time, take care of you and take care of your babies. Bye. The More Than a Lawyer podcast features music by Sound.